Alright, hi everybody, thanks for coming along. So this is the third one, and I think we've probably said all the time it's a bit of a kind of slow burner. I think the first one was on pricing.
Yeah.
Second one was on tendering. No, if that's a lie. Second one was on contracting. I'm literally panicking there, Joanna.
I was thinking, let's put us up, would you? Yeah.
This one's on tendering, and hopefully, as I think from talking to some of you, you found the last one really useful. And that's really interesting, so there's no pressure on the two ladies at the back there.
No, we're really good last one. So.
Oh, great.
She scared me a little bit, actually.
She was a bit scary, wasn't she?
Yeah. She tells you it's Wednesday,
The pen comes out at the bottom of the dabber. That is ace. Sorry, Graham.
Look, I know I'm boring, but come on. Okay, so I mean, really, like everything else, aims of the network, CITB funding, how to get your hands on it, for those of you who haven't accessed it. We've got some changes to the CITB, let's say, grants and let's say funding scheme, which I'll talk you through generally. The information will be on the website, let's say, next week. I went to a CITB event on Wednesday, and there's a few changes and things to think about. Not that it'll impact on us, let's say, very greatly. I mean, how to join if you haven't already. The Learning Zone questions and answers, which we'll hand over to Joel and our colleague. And then we'll have a bit more time for let's say, networking. And if you're kind of really good, we'll do the buy 9 gins, get 1 free.
Somebody got driving my car up.
I've got to go out tonight.
I think, as I've said all the time, the aim of the network is to try and create a sort of community between tradespeople, experts, and like suppliers. And when I was at this CITB event on next Wednesday, I talked to their national partnership manager, who is really interested in the stuff we're doing here. And they see it as being a different way to engage with especially with SME construction companies, because everybody tends to think the CITB is all for big boys. And it's not necessarily. And so some of the things that we do is quite good because it gets them into what they would call hard to reach construction businesses, which is what you guys are. And so, as I say, so it's about, we're going to be uploading loads of information onto the website next week in terms of freebie stuff, so kind of forms, legal documents, it's toolbox talks that you can download and just have. And so you can, but you have to join to get that. Okay. No pressure, Kenny. Seeing as you were really disruptive there.
I've got to join now because I'm disruptive in class.
Yes, you are. You're fine. So one of the things we talked to loads of organisations about is CITB funding, because a lot of organisations don't actually access it. Even the 78,000 registered CITB organisations, only 22,000 of them actually access any money. And the CITB have got £185 million to spend. And obviously our aim is to help you guys get your hands on as kind of much of that as we can. So there's loads of ways to do it, but there is a health warning in the fact that there's a CITB levy to pay. So if your salary base is over 80k, you will pay levy at 0.3% for your PAYE staff. If you're under 80k, the good news is you get all the grants and the funding, don't have to pay a penny. And hopefully that's where we'll try and keep you guys. The other thing is, if you use labour-only subcontractors, they will be added into your levy. So the idea, if you've got labour, so if you've got subcontractors, if you can get them to come with materials, they will not count in your levy. Okay. So there's loads of these. So there's loads of training grants, and these aren't really going to change. How you claim them is changing, and how you claim them in the old days was you had a training plan which you completed everything. These days, if you use a registered training supplier with the CITB, it will be done automatically for you, so you don't have to do anything. So you don't need to do training plans, don't need to do any of that crap. You use a registered ATO, as they call them, and they will do all for you, and the grant payment will be automatically made to you. Okay, but that's just for training. So if you do things like IPAF, PASMA, health and safety, all that types of stuff, and you register with the CITB, and you use a registered training provider, you'll just get automatically paid. So there's a lot of anger in the room on Wednesday, because there's a lot of construction employee training officers there who were thinking, shit, my job's just gone down the toilet, because that was quite a big part of the job, and the CITB and one else would have taken it away from them. Okay, so there's all these lists of grants you can claim. There's funding you can claim through this, the kind of skills and training fund and enhanced incentives. So that's where we can help you to get your hands on cash, which is really what we try to do, so that we almost become a free supplier to you. Okay. The last thing is kind of local CITB like support. So you've got company development advisors. The one in West Yorkshire is a guy called John Long, if you need to get hold of him, and if you want his details I can give you them. The one in South Yorkshire is Helen Rowland, and again Helen and I have chats all the time about various bits of stuff, and Helen is extremely supportive of this. Okay. And then there's the construction industry training groups, where the one in West Yorkshire is run by a lady called Lorraine Curbertson, and again if you want to make contact with her, I can help you with that. The South Yorkshire one is up for grabs at the moment, and we've made an application to run that, and we're going through the process at the moment because there is not a South Yorkshire one. Okay. I've just covered them. So, these are the changes. As I said, it's going to move into an online service, which is better. It's automated payments if you do it the right way, so you don't have to wait. There's a register of construction staff, which is new. So what you'll be asked to do is register all you guys with the qualifications, and so anybody can go online, so you can send the guys to site. They don't really need CSCS cards, they don't really need it, because they can go online and they'll be able to check them, which is a lot like the better, which actually means for like, who was it? It was it's a Chris and like Neil, who couldn't find certificates. They'll all already be registered on there, so they won't have to do it anymore. Okay. Register of approved training providers, and there's a load of detail on this, and as I say, it'll be on the website probably. When do you think it'll be on the website, Jamie?
Next week.
It'll be on the website actually next week, and we'll email out and let you know. Okay. So if you want to join, go to www.constructnet.org. It's kind of £40 a month, and you get access to all the videos, all the training resources. We'll be adding this one on probably by the middle of next week, once the two ladies have authorised it and happy with it.
That won't happen.
Haven't said anything they can be sued for. Okay. And we're adding content to that all the time to actually help you. I've just given Jamie a USB stick of toolbox talks and draft examples of different kind of forms. I came across a legal website after the last one where it had the delay of like the work, like the forms, and all that like the stuff that you can do. It blew my mind. The number of things you can list as delays with a different kind of form, but you just have to complete the blanks and you send it off to them. So that's all available on the members like site as well. Okay. As you can see, with no Dale, but Jamie's there if you want to have a chat, and we can like to log you on and take your bank details. If you join for the year, it will save £80. Okay. So next time, I think I said last time, this is your group. So if we want a guest like speaker for next time, we've got something which is about organisation.
Okay, so most of you know who we are already actually. So I'm Jo, this is Sarah, we work at On to the Page, which is a bid consultancy. My background is in business communications, business writing, competitive communications, that kind of thing. And then I've worked as a bid consultant for a long time now. So I work with all different types of businesses, different sizes, different industries, all that kind of thing. Some that have never ever had to put together any sort of tender, others that have massive, they're kind of household names and have their own teams but just need a bit of help really. And Sarah, do you want to tell people a bit about your background as well?
So I'm Sarah, I've been at On to the Page for 2 years. Before that I worked for a multi-trade construction company. And I started as a bid manager there, not really knowing much about bidding, thinking it'd be quite simple, and then realising what a minefield public sector tendering is. So I faced all the challenges that anyone would expect to see. So between us, we're quite adept and experienced in dealing with any kind of construction tendering and helping people through that process.
Onto the page, we help people with public and private sector tenders. So private obviously is anything that's private money, so any sort of business like a hotel, for example, if you're working for them, that's private sector. Public would be, government, councils, schools, hospitals, anything like that. If the contract is above a certain value, it has to be put out to tender, and it's a really complicated system, and so that's what we're going to talk about today, is that kind of public sector tendering.
Okay, cool. So before we start then, so you know about Joanna and I, so we'd just like to know a bit about you guys and your experience with tendering, if you have any so far. And then once we've had a little chat, I just want you to, on the post-its that we've handed out, 3 random post-its, and our lovely pens, I just want everybody to think of a question or what they want to get out of the session today, just so we can make sure that it's useful for you all. So, Dean, do you want to start your experience with tendering so far?
I always tender for subcontractors.
Okay.
And my challenge is to go direct to the developers, the builders. Because what's happening is I'm losing a lot of work to inferior quality tradesmen. So I want to try and...
So do they say, can you fill in this part of a tender then, or do they give you some guidance in terms of what they want back?
No, the tender basically is just on the document I get.
Okay, right.
And specification sheet, and apartment states, stuff like that, and I just put the price up for that.
And so often when you're doing that, are there a number of competitors as well that will be going for that one piece? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So that'd be private then, so these are
Yeah,
the main
most of the
contractors.
privates, yeah.
And have you any experience going into public sector?
I do a lot with police, Teaching Hospital Trust.
Oh yeah.
I've been there for 24 years. So
Okay.
I'm the estates department on that.
Okay, good. Okay.
Next one.
Yeah, Mark, Great Northern Town Company. Not dissimilar to Dean, to be honest with you. We don't do a lot for public sector tendering. We've got a lot of private companies that we do a lot of tenders for.
Yeah.
But I think it might be something that be interesting for us to have a look at.
Okay.
To be fair.
Yeah, Kenny from Kane Plastering. Same again.
Same
We
again.
do a lot for construction companies. We've just started working for Harrogate Council,
Okay.
but we haven't actually tendered to them directly.
So you're subcontracting a portion?
Yeah, we're currently contracting for another firm, but they're not happy with them and they want to come direct to us. So, which is good for us. So it might be that we need help to make us tenders look a lot more professional. When we're tendering, so obviously like a council, they'll expect a lot more documentation, I would guess.
Absolutely.
About processes and
we've
health
got
and safety and
all
all that
this.
sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Today,
Now tell us.
Obviously, you know that I use these guys. I started the same as what you guys are doing, and you're pricing for construction work direct. And it won't work it for us because you all know that you just get bashed out by your main contractors. So we made a decision that we wanted to go do direct for end user, for your councils, and that's where all your money's going to be ready. If you look into most businesses that are successful in the construction industry, they're not in construction, they're direct to vendor, so they're not getting it by anybody else's. They're not getting the markup the other companies are going to get. So we tested what we won this first job we did and realised how easy it was. Just life's so much easier by.
When it wasn't easy, it was easy for you.
Yeah, do it, yeah.
I didn't find it easy.
But once you get the tender through and these guys win it for you, you've got 3 or 4 years, and it's an admin task. You're not actually. When you go into construction, you basically start a job and you put your fists up and you're ready to fight them, aren't you? When you go into public sector, especially, you start a job and it's just right. You do the job.
Do it.
You put an invoice and you get paid, and it's everything's so streamlined and so easy. And we make so much more. As margins are 10 to 15% more, that's on us, which makes a massive difference. So spending that little bit more at the beginning, getting a job, and changing the way that your job's run and how you're getting your money out of it, it's just, it's good for us.
How about you?
Hi, I'm Paul, PB Decorators. I'm brand new, so this is all just learning for me. Just here to meet people and take on board some information possibly for the future.
So currently, is your work, is it more domestic?
All domestic.
Is it? Okay, so you've just gone and priced up a
I'm
job,
literally 2 months in.
Okay, and do you, is kind of the target to continue domestic, or do you want to do
Well,
both?
it just depends what doors open.
Okay.
I think it's just, you're walking down a street and it's whatever roads lead off it.
What happens, yeah.
At this moment in time, everything's just domestic. It's about getting your name out there and
Yeah.
hopefully paying the bills on time.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Phil?
Right, I'm Stuart, I'm from a company called Brewers Decorator Centres. I tendered for some business last year in order to supply some public sector. I came second,
Oh,
which, you know, what an achievement for myself because it's something I've never done before. But I think there were a lot more information I could have put in.
yeah, okay.
You know, you get your tender, it's all done, you panic, you write stuff down, you send it in. If I'd have put a bit more detail in, I think it might have been a bit of a different result.
Do you know, did you know your scores? Do you know how close were you, or?
I think there were about 6 points in it.
Okay.
6 point. I think we wouldn't have got 84 from about 7 days.
Okay.
Not far off.
But it was close, very close. Yeah, but there's a lot of things in supplying paints. It's not straightforward. We use other accounts and things like that. So trying to get what I mean across on a piece of paper that they can understand, I found that quite difficult.
Do you think that whole putting that tendering, did that then put you off tendering, or did it encourage you further? How do you feel about going for more tenders?
I'm encouraged. I want to do more. As Brewers expands, there's a lot more public sector that we want to get involved with supply, particularly around South Yorkshire, don't we? So, yeah, it's something.
Okay.
Cool.
Excellent.
Don't want to do more.
You've got that. So we wanted to address some of the pros and cons as well, because I know there's a lot of talk of why people don't go into public sector work. The main one that we hear all the time is, oh, it's a corrupt system, they know who they want anyway. I would probably agree that perhaps it did used to be like that. People were given jobs and people would say, well, there's no point me tendering because I know who's going to get it anyway. And that is not the case now. They're doing everything they can to make sure that's not the case. And sometimes, as people in this room have found, that can work against you because, you might have a great relationship and you might be doing a fantastic job, but they've still got to put it back out to tender. And it has to be a fair process. Also, once you have completed the tender, they have to publish those scores. So if you want to see them, or if anybody in the UK wants to see them, they can see those scores. So you can see exactly how far off you are, but also you can ask why you got that score. So they really have to be able to justify their decision. So it's a lot less common that that there is any corruption, and it is a fair system now. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's pretty annoying. Next one is slim profit margins. So it's public money, it's taxpayer money, you cannot whack a massive profit margin on it, because frankly when they're marking that, sometimes they will ask exactly what is your profit margin, and bearing in mind that it is taxpayer money, if they can see something massive there, that doesn't look good, they don't want to be giving that away. Also it's more competitive, which means that the profit margins can sometimes get even more tight, but on the plus side, public sector, the budget has to be there before they can put a tender out. So you know that work is going to get paid. Also, when they do pay, it's usually pretty good payment terms. So what do you find is like 60 days?
10.
Oh, really? Wow, there we go, 10 days. Or 30 days is usual, sometimes 60, but usually 30 days. So 10's great, they are very good with their payments because, again, it's in the public eye. So if they don't pay you, you can make that known and they'll get in a lot of trouble. So you will get paid for the work you do. Final one is a daunting process, which I guess you've maybe got an insight into now, where you kind of, I'm just going to fill out a tender, and actually once you look at it, you think, oh God, this could have done with so tender through. You're expecting just one document, a tender document, and you get 30. You've no idea where to start. They're really unclear. They're unclear what they want back from you. It's unclear what the documents actually are that you're looking at. It's hard to find perhaps the specification or the brief. You don't really know, there's 3 pricing documents, what do they want, how do they want it done? So the process itself can be really daunting. In addition, there's usually pretty tight timescales, and unlike the private sector, when that deadline comes, the portal quite literally closes down and you cannot submit your bid. So if you don't hit that deadline, you're out, that is it. There is no second chance, there is no option to email them and say, oh sorry, I was just a bit late, here it is anyway. So it can be quite a daunting process, but hopefully, as we're going to explain, if you've got the right tools and the right help, it's actually pretty straightforward.
So Joe and I do a lot of training, and generally it's a full day training session, but we've just got an hour, so we've kind of condensed it into the essentials of getting you bid ready and some top tips for helping to bid. So the first one we're going to go through is, are you bid ready? So for public tendering, there's certain things you can do in advance to get yourselves ready, and these are things that you can have in a little library or saved on your computer. So this is one of the reasons we brought this action plan. So if you have this ready, we're going to go through, and if you don't have these things, you can make an action to do these.
Gab, you can put your beat up.
Yeah, I've already done it all for you. Okay, so first thing, as Joanna said, it's public money, and bidding to the public sector, the key element there is risk. So it's lowering risk for the public body, if that's the local council or if it's a university or a hospital. The key area they want to make sure is there's no financial risk. So if they give you a job, they want to make sure that you're in a good financial position, that you won't go bust halfway through. That's a massive cost for them to come in and fill that position. So the first thing you'll get asked for is evidence of finances, and that's usually your last 2 years' accounts. If you're a new startup and you've only got a few months, there is an option for you to provide alternative financial information. If I'm honest, it's always going to look risky from a buyer's point of view. If there's someone with like 5 years history and there's someone who's got a couple of months, you can tell which a buyer's going to think is more risky. But this is a really good thing to get yourself ready and then have a plan for next year, get all these things in place, and then next year you're ready to start tendering to the public sector. So get your accounts. Does everybody have a copy of the last 2 years' accounts, or are they with your accountant? If they are, then just ask them to send them.
Just on account, sorry, before we move on. So in the last few months, there's been a change with Companies House. Obviously every year you have to submit your accounts to Companies House. In the last few months, they've changed it so that you don't actually have to submit your full accounts to Companies House. So it won't have your turnover on there. So a lot of accountants now, that's what they'll send you, is that version that doesn't actually have your turnover on. Now, for tendering, that's not acceptable, basically because they want to see your turnover. That's what they're interested in. So just bear in mind, kind of before, in terms of bid readiness, before you get to the stage where you have to send off these accounts, just bear in mind that you might need to speak to your accountant now. This only just happened, so most accountants aren't aware that there's a problem, but you need to see, when you get sent your accounts from your accountant, you must have your turnover on that. They have it, they just are sending it to you in a different format, so make sure you get that.
Yeah, turnover, profit, loss, because that's how the public sector what they'll look at to work out your risk financially. So you can have those prepared. The second part is you need to evidence that you've done this kind of work before. So case studies, and they need to be under your company. So have you worked for a company prior to setting up on your own?
Yeah, I've worked with several quite large companies. After background, probably.
Okay.
About they're probably the biggest patent company in Britain.
Yeah. So one of the pains with public sector is you need to evidence them under your company that you're bidding for. So it's a pain that your experience you can't transfer forward in your case studies. So most of them will ask for 3 case studies, and they need to be of similar works that you're bidding for. Does anybody proactively get their case study information, get testimonials from clients? Yeah, excellent. How do you go about doing that?
We mainly go outside. We usually do like before and after shots. We record, through site audits and things like that, what's happening with the job as we're going through it, and then if it's a particularly nice job, then we'll ask for a testimonial direct after the job's been finished, directly from clients.
Yeah, go.
We use part of our SEO package that we've got with Northern Media. They write 1 or 2 articles from the website a week, so it might be a piece of news, a case study or a blog.
Yeah.
So there's obviously every 3 weeks there's going to be a new case study or blog going to his website. So they're there anyway, so they just get pulled off the website, and then so you're utilising it with the SEO.
Yeah, make the most of it.
Yeah, excellent. So case studies, you need to be proactive with these, and you can just have a standard template that you use for all your contracts. So on there you want your contract start date or award date, when the contract's due to finish, your client, the type of contract, a brief description of the work, so say what did they want, how did you deliver it, if you had any obstacles or you had any problems on there, what they were and how you overcame them, and ultimately the end result. So you'll probably go to a lot of KPI meetings or review meetings for your contract. So any feedback that you get that you're meeting, your adherence to schedule, quality targets, complaint targets, all those look fantastic in case studies. And if it is a good contract, then ask the client for a testimonial. So they're things that as you're going through a contract from award to finish, you can start gathering that information. And for you as a startup, you know, just start that straight away. And as soon as you've got those 3 case studies, you can start going for
No matter how small, really, even just anything, because it's much easier to get it done at the time. If you get it, you know, a year along and then say, oh, I'll write that one up, it's much harder to go back and remember kind of the ins and outs of the job. So even if you think actually this is too small to utilise in future, don't worry about it. Just as part of your kind of practice of doing a job, just write the details down, get the testimonials, the photos, and store it for later.
References, so again, you need to be able to provide at least 3 references for most public sector opportunities. These would often be people that you use for your case studies. Again, you need contact name, number, address, job title, and you need to also be sure that that person is ready to give you a reference. So if you are putting a bid in, don't just submit it and put their details in. Make sure you call them or send them an email first to say, you know, is it okay if I use you as a reference? This is who's going to be contacting you. This is how you need to send the reference back. If you're going for a contract where you're the incumbent and you're going to be going for a contract renewal, make sure you get all that information, the case study, the testimonials, before the tender comes out to yeah, make sure you get all that.
I think this point is really important.
Before the tender's published, as it's, you know, public procurement, there's so many rules regarding how you can communicate with the buyer. So you need to have all that communication done before the tender's released. After that, the only communication you can have is via a portal which is publicly available to all. So they won't send out contract information or testimonials on that. So definitely have these ahead of time. Start collecting them now if you haven't already. And the last thing is your time and resources. So apart from Gav, I assume most people here, if you had a tender to do, you'd be doing it yourself. Is that right? Yeah, no one's got a bid manager or team. So, or do you?
Yeah, I've got a team.
Oh, do you?
Estimators, yeah.
Okay, and so they do pricing, and who would do the quality, the written side of a tender? Who, you know, have to fill in?
Probably, we've got 3 in accounts, in estimating, so it's probably header estimating be Ellen.
All right, okay, and he'd be responsible for submitting that whole tender?
She would, yeah.
Or she, sorry. Okay, so if you've got a team, it's really, when you get tender, it's so easy to underestimate the amount of time and effort that's needed, and we even do it ourselves sometimes. So if you're going for a bid, it's all or nothing. You know, there's no point spending your time and just putting, you know, running out of time towards the end, or missing the deadline, or not putting in as much information as you could have done. So just making sure you've got that time available and the resources. So if you're subcontracting any elements out, if you need your estimating team to be available to submit that, making sure that you're managing that process and you've got the resources and the time. The last thing you want to do is what we do often, and we're up till midnight writing people's tenders. So, you know, you want that to be manageable and as stress-free as possible. Okay, so that's your bid readiness.
And then once you've decided that you have got those things in place, you've got your finance, you've got your case studies and references, and you think, yes, I've got the time to do this, it's a matter of finding the opportunities. So public sector means it's publicly available. So there are loads of free registers, such as Contracts Finder up there. There's also some paid for ones as well. I think they're just over £1,000 a year, something like that. But basically, if you go on Contracts Finder, everything within the EU currently is published on there. So you can do that. However, it's pretty time consuming. So there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tenders published every single day. And if you sign up to one of these portals, what they do is note down it's called a CPV code. It's like a keyword for your industry. And anything that matches that, they will send that to you. So 1 per email. So you're going to be sent through loads and loads of emails. Then, in that, you'll see a tender notice with a tiny little snippet about the tender or the opportunity. If you're interested in that, you then have to go through to the portal, register on a portal, register interest in that opportunity, download those documents, and then decide, actually, do I want to go for this or not? So you absolutely can do that. It's just very time consuming. Also, because it is quite time consuming, most people tend to just ignore lots of the emails, and then that one framework for your local council that you've been waiting for ages is missed and gone. So it's quite risky tactic as well. Alternatively, you can go for a paid-for service. There's a few people that do this. we do one of these. You've got a leaflet on your chairs as well. Sarah will tell you a little bit more about that, but basically the benefit of it is that it takes away the risk and it takes away your time, so we do it all for you.
Right. So yeah, so our search service, so I manage the search service out onto the page. So as Joanna said, you know, I think there's about 1,500 tender opportunities published every day in the UK. That's not all the Europe ones as well that we can find. So just in the UK, and therefore every single industry. So we've got some poor soul back at the office who actually reads every opportunity every day.
I thought you meant software.
No.
No, but that's the benefit. Because if it's software,
Yeah.
you miss stuff, don't you?
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas
So
we have a human.
we can do
Two humans.
software, but it's like all algorithms. So if you put like painting and decorating in, it relies on the contract notice to be tagged with those things. If that tag's missed off, you won't get that sent. Alternatively, if someone's like, we want to set up a website for a painting company, because that's got painting, you'll be sent stuff for website development. So, yeah.
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah. So we basically, for our clients, like Gav, for example, he's given us loads of keywords that he wants us to look out for, the location he wants to work in. We can also do contract values, look out for certain things like frameworks. And then this person in the office is checking everything to see if anything picks up. So we've got loads of clients that we do this for. We send you then the opportunities through on an email once a week. You get the contract notice. If you're interested in anything, we download all the tender documents, we read through them, we'll let you know when the deadline dates are, what's involved in the submission. Gav, how do you find
Yeah, it's good. I didn't realise it was somebody else.
Do you like that now?
You mind blown.
I've tried to do the other way, you know, and it just takes forever, you know.
It just doesn't work. It's not effective. It's a publicly available resource,
Yeah.
but it just doesn't work properly.
But I just get an email and literally I'm sorry, I'm just going to click pay. So I just turn around and I just go, can I have some more information on this? And then all of a sudden, a couple of hours later, or a day later, I just have another email and it'll just come through. And it's more or less the same every time. It'll tell you all about it, so I can skim through it and then it's yes or no. And they get to know you that well. They'll basically say about my email, don't think it's for you, or you know, have a look through this section of this part of the document, because I think you need to read into that more and see whether it's part for you. And that's the thing, because you'll open a tender document up and there might be 100 pages in it or whatever. You're not going to read through it all because you haven't got time. But these guys obviously can read faster like that, so women, and they'll read through it.
We just know where we're going.
They'll read through it and then they'll say, right, go to paragraph 6 on and you'll read it and they'll go, all right, yeah, you've got to have a turnover
Or ISO
of 10 million quid or whatever, and you just go, well, that's not.
Bless you. Yeah, so we do that, and the massive benefit is really that because we're doing it, even though these opportunities might only come out, you know, every month or so, you might only get one every 3 months, but because we're looking through every single one, we won't miss that opportunity. So yeah.
Can I just tell it, well, don't be disillusioned. You might only get 4 or 5 a year, but you only need 1 a year to do it.
This is the thing, yeah, and I think that's kind of the issue with when you're doing it yourself and you're getting probably 100 emails a day or maybe less depending on what you do, but it's very easy to, if you have a busy day and you want to clear your inbox, to not look at those. But like Gav says, if there's that contract that, you know, is coming out, if it's a framework and it comes out once every 4 or 5 years, when that is issued, that one email is so important. So yeah, it's not about getting loads of opportunities every month, because we can't guarantee what's going to be published, but if it is published, we will make sure it's found and sent to you, so you will be aware of it. So
So that's the search survey. As part of that as well, as Gav mentioned, and what Joe's going to cover next is we can also help you make that decision whether it's a bid worth going for. So we'll look at the tender documents, we'll look at you and your company, your experience, and help you make that decision. So if you're interested in a search, you can talk to me or Joanna about it later, but basically it's £75 a month, which is nothing compared to paying for them yourself. You know, you can pay for sites which are over £1,000 a year. There's one for £3,000 a year, I think, that provide less information than we do. And for you guys, if you're interested, we'll do your first month half price. It's pay as you go, so you can trial it for a few months. If you don't like it, you can cancel it. So yeah, let us know if you want any more information on that.
So once you've found that opportunity, so let's say you find it yourself, or we send it to you and you kind of go, right, there's this tender out for this piece of work, so many people will just plough on and they'll go, right, that's it, then I want that piece of work. But actually the next phase is this: you should entirely stop, don't proceed with anything until you've kind of asked yourself these three really, really important questions. First one is, can we deliver this? And I know that sounds really obvious, but actually it's about properly looking at that specification and then asking yourself, can we deliver this? Because actually, if the contract title says one thing, that doesn't necessarily mean that that is all-encompassing of the entire spec. So it's really, really important to make sure you've read the whole thing and that you're happy with all aspects of the job, not just the bit that you want to do, because you won't win it if that's the case. So can we deliver it? And also remind yourself that you are not the only person bidding. These are extremely competitive. So there are going to be a lot of other people bidding. Some of them are going to be fantastic. So unless you are confident that you are the best, frankly, because there's only one person that can win it. So if you are the best, then absolutely carry on. If not, if you look at your competitors and go, actually, we're just not going to beat them, then honestly, don't bother. Find the next opportunity that is a better fit for you. Next one is, can we present a winning case? It's kind of the same thing really, but it's not just can we deliver the work, it's what's special about us. So if you say, I don't know, there's going to be 10 people bidding for this contract and you're all tiles, for example, what do you do that's not tiling? Because everybody else is going to be doing that, right? So what do you do that makes you stand out above everybody else? What's your added value? What's your winning proposition? And we call it a win theme in writing your bid. So let's say you all go in with the same price, and let's say you can all do the work competently. Why would you win it then? So you really have to ask yourself, what more do we have to offer to this? It could be something like we're a locally based team, or perhaps we sponsor the local rugby team, or perhaps we've got this amazing quality management system, or perhaps all of our team have been with us for 10 years, so they're super experienced. But there must be some sort of win theme there that puts you above everyone else. Next one is it profitable? So many people will go, right, I want this piece of work. They concentrate on putting together the tender. And the night before, they go, right, best do this pricing. And then they look at the specification, fill out the pricing, and go, I'm not going to make any money on that. Whole thing's a waste of time. Shouldn't have ever, gone for it. So it's really, really important that you, once you've done that first step of, really kind of looking through the whole specification and seeing what's involved, then look at that price and figure out, actually, is it worth going for? Because sometimes, especially public sector, you will find it's just not. And they quite often will put an estimated contract value or a budget ceiling on there. You cannot go above that. They don't have any more money than that. So you must go below it. And if you can't price that up within that price, don't bother. Somebody will do it. Somebody else will do it cheaper. So it's really important that one of the first stages is making sure it's worthwhile for you.
Okay, so once you've answered yes to all those questions, then you're ready to start writing your tender. There's only a couple of people in here that have experience with writing tenders. So basically it's an exam. It's a written exam that you have to complete, and it's completely based on what you put on the paper. So a big error that a lot of people make is, we know this person, they absolutely love us, we've been doing the contract for 20 years, we'll just, fill in the basic information because they already know all about us. In public sector, they can only mark what's on the paper. That's all they're limited to. So you really need to make an effort of selling yourself, including all the information. So I'm going to go through just some tips to make sure that your bid is a winning bid. So first step, don't start until you've read absolutely everything and read it 2-3 times, okay? Some of the tenders, we will go, we'll do it.
Happy if they did, wouldn't it? Audio bid.
So, read it once, get an idea of the spec, make your decision, then read it again and really find out what you need to submit as part of that bid. Sometimes, you can get a really good buy where there's a clear-cut tender where it's like, this is what we want you to submit and these are the documents to do it in. Other ones, they can be like 20 different documents and each document can tell you another thing to submit and it links back to another document. So it can be quite time-consuming and, very daunting when you first get those to work out what's required. Number 2, check you meet mandatory requirements. So sometimes, they'll be obvious, sometimes they'll be really buried in the specification, but you might need ISO 9001, you might need certain CHARS, or you might need safe contractor instead of CHARS. you might need a certain financial turnover, certain experience of certain values. So having a look through the criteria and making sure that you pass all those. If you don't, and it's a pass-fail, there's absolutely no point in going back any further, is there? Because you're just going to fail the bid if you put something in. So check your meet mandatory requirements. One thing on here though, I would point out is that buyers aren't exactly, they don't spend a huge amount of time putting these documents together sometimes. They can be quite copy and paste or generic things. So sometimes you might find, for example, we've seen jobs where it's like a roofing job where they want professional indemnity insurance of 10 million for someone to go and install a roof. It's like someone doesn't need that insurance to do that work. So one thing you can do is if you think this requirement isn't actually, something that is industry standard for this work, you can go back and clarify that with the buyer and ask, why do you need this? So if they're asking for something which you think is over and above what's expected, you can go back and ask them to provide the rationale behind that. And 9 times out of 10, they actually just cancel it. They'll just say,
Just tell us what you've got.
yeah, just ignore that.
But don't do that unless you've confirmed it with them.
Yeah, don't just assume.
What I find, do you know when you put the questions on,
Yeah.
does that affect your bid sometimes?
No, it doesn't.
You know,
So many people are worried,
Yeah.
they think they're going to piss off the buyer,
Yeah.
by asking. It's not the case at all.
Yeah.
They welcome that actually because, so from a buyer's point of view, they want as many bids as possible because they want the competition there. So they want people to be interested. And actually, if there's something in that tender that might be putting people off bidding, like a ridiculous insurance value or something like that, they want to be aware of that so that actually they can correct it and then have people submit the bids. As well, even if you think you might be annoying them, which it really doesn't happen. I mean, obviously, you've got to write it a certain way as well, but you've got to be careful because if your clarification is about something that really is fundamentally unclear about the tender, if that comes out after you've all submitted, and then somebody goes, oh, actually it wasn't clear, some people have written about this and some people have written about something else, the whole process might be scrapped and your time's been wasted. So it is in your interest as well to make sure that everybody is clear on what's involved.
And definitely, especially in construction pricing, the pricing can be really vague sometimes or not clear. So we've seen it where someone's priced a job and the specification hasn't included loads of elements of the job, and the bidder has thought, well, they haven't put it in, but I know these things need to be done, so I'm going to put in costs for them all. Another bidder's just put in what they've put on the specification, so obviously they've put in a cheaper bid and they've won that, and then after contract award they've been able to say, well, you only asked us to price for this, and we actually need to also do waste collection, and you didn't ask us to put welfare and things like that in. So they've won the job on a cheaper bid and then been able to claim that cost back, whereas this bidder who put all the costs in head first lost the bid. So definitely, if it's a specification of pricing, always go back and clarify rather than assuming what price you should put in, or thinking that you'll add these extras on because the buyer hasn't noticed them, because other people won't be doing that and then they'll be putting in a cheaper bid.
In that example, so anything that you do, any questions that you do ask, it's all shared between everybody that's bidding. So in that example there, if the person had gone to them and said, hang on a minute, we know that actually this is missing from your pricing document.
Yeah.
When they had responded and then said, oh yes, you're right, we need the price to include X, Y, and Z, that would have been shared with everybody. So everybody then knows what they're pricing up.
Yeah. Or generally they'll reissue the pricing schedule, so everyone's pricing from a fair sheet. But yeah, loads of people are so scared to go and ask clarifications and think, I'm going to annoy, but we do this on a daily basis where we're asking them, and it doesn't at all, it's not allowed to affect your bid. Next one is answer the question. So in your bid, you will generally, for public sector, you will be given a weighting, so it might be that 40% of your bid is based on your price and 60% is based on a quality response, so written quality responses that support your bid. So it's really important that you answer the question that's being asked of you, and not the one that you think is being asked or the one that you hope is being asked. So a big thing that Joe and I do a lot of tender reviews where someone is ready to submit a bid and they'll say, can you just tell us if this is okay before we put it in? And the main thing that we pick up on here is that people don't answer the question that's being asked. So if they're asking you to demonstrate your quality management on site, and you're just putting in a generic proposal of how you have a quality management system in place and everybody gets training and it's not specific to site, then you haven't answered the question. So read the question and make sure that your answer fully answers the question. And that leads into the next one, which is answer all the questions. So again, you know, by doing this one, reading everything twice, you're aware of all the questions. We've had experience where people, you know, have come to us with previous bids they've submitted and they've missed a question out or they haven't ticked a box and the bid just fails and it's absolutely ridiculous because, you know, people spend days and days doing this and so much resources and it can be lost just because you haven't ticked a box or put a date in or signed a form. Yeah, so make sure that you read absolutely everything and check everything has been completed before you submit. Next one is review. So again, like I just said, we do read reviews. A lot of people just think that we're going to be checking the spelling and grammar. But
We do that as well.
Yeah. But yeah, review it. So you can't lose points based on your spelling, grammar, your presentation. Technically, you can't lose points. However, you know, you want a bid to be really easy for the buyer to read and mark. So if they're asking you a question and you've laid the answer out answering that question, they can go tick, 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 tick. It's a lot easier than a 40-page document that's they're pulling out
sales
all
brochure.
over. Yeah. Or sales literature and things like that are really, you know, don't send those in your bids. So always review your bid, have someone proofread it, have someone check it, check that you're using consistent, you know, branding, logos, font, things like that. Just makes it look more professional and it's easier to read as well. And then your bid then, once you've had it reviewed, you'll submit that bid, you'll be waiting for the outcome. Public sector, it could be a week, it could be a year, who knows when it'll come back. But once you do, always get feedback. So, sorry, I forgot your name. Stuart. So you put your bid in and you got a bit of feedback back on your pricing. Did you go back and drill into them and ask them to be more specific with what you were doing better than your competitors or what they were doing better than you?
No, I didn't.
No?
I just got the information, we haven't got it, and I left it at that.
Okay,
I've
so
been going 3 years.
for feedback, public sector have to provide you with feedback. If it's over a certain value, they have to legally provide you with more, but generally for every public sector you'll get feedback. So that will be on your price. So they'll tell you how your price scored compared to somebody or the winning bidder. They won't give you an amount, sometimes they might give you a percentage off or they might tell you a third out of, 10. So it gives you an idea where you are pricing.
You can quite often work that out as well though. So if you were to go back to the evaluation criteria, and so in the original documents, how they're going to score that price, if they've told you what the winning price was, and you know how you scored compared to them, you can do the mathematical equation to figure out actually that's what the winner bid. So then you know where you're positioned.
Yeah. Don't ask John to do that.
Words, not maths.
Yeah, there is a simple equation, but for some reason that takes us 2 hours to Yeah, so that's really useful. And then from your quality as well, they'll tell you what your quality score was compared to other people. If there's 5 method statements, you should get your score for each of the 5 method statements, and they should tell you what your response was lacking compared to the winning bidder. So for feedback, generally, public buyer will send you your letter to say, sorry, you were unsuccessful. It might just say that, it might not even have your scores on. So you will go back and say, can you give me some more feedback? They'll say, yeah, your score was this and the winning score was this. Most people leave it there if they even get to that stage. You need to go back again and say, give me more information, I need to find out where my bid was. What were they saying that they did that I didn't in my bid?
For every single question.
Every single question. Feedback's so important, win or lose, even if we have a bid and it's won, unless it's scored 100%, we'll be going back and saying, why didn't we get 100% for that question? What more were you expecting of us? This is really common for incumbents, so people who are already doing a contract, they're going for contract renewal. It's really common for people to go in and just submit the same bid they did like 4 years ago because they think, well, we won that bid then, we're going to win it again. In that 4 years, all the people that lost the bid have been getting feedback, they've been developing the bids, they've been improving that bid. So win or lose, always get feedback, always push for it, they have to give you the feedback, so always be going on at them. It's more the case of how you ask the question to get the feedback. If you just say, give me feedback, they'll just give you the bare minimum. But they do have the scoring sheets, they have all the information, they have to save that because it's public procurement, it's public, documents. So you can always go back and ask for that. So, completing bid.
The other option. If all of that sounds a bit too much like hard work, get us to do it. or somebody else. There are other people that do this. We're not the only ones. But obviously, I'm not going to tell you about them. So, onto the page. We specialise in helping people find and win tenders. That's really important because our win rate it's actually over 75%. It's really important, that bit about winning tenders, not just finding them, because as Gav knows, we will not encourage you to bid for something unless we really think you're going to win it. That's important for two reasons. Firstly, we don't want people to get disillusioned with the service that we provide. We don't think it's fair taking your money and helping you with something that actually you're not likely to win. Secondly, the way that people always want to say, how do I know how good you are? Well, that's how you know. So we're quite protective of our win rate. So we do often try to talk people out of bidding, and they'll say, come on, I'm giving you the money, just I want to do it. And we'll say, no, there is no point. You're not going to win. I'm telling you now, you're not going to win, because everyone loses that way, basically. So we do quite often talk people out of paying us to do work for them, but I think hopefully people will respect our opinion more because of that. And as I say, because when we're working on something with you, we absolutely give it everything. We really believe that you're going to win, and we will do everything we can to help you win. So we want to be fully invested in it.
We're really invested in, and if we get a loss through, it's absolutely devastating. So to us, it's not just the page for it and on to the next one. We are really invested in that continuous improvement and making sure that every bid is winnable. Just to throw a stat at it as well, return on investment for our bids. So for every client that we have, we put in the contract value for work that we have won them, and also how much they've paid us to do all of this. We track that over the years. Average return on investment is £1,000 for every £1 spent, although actually many of our clients have way above that. Because if you think of a public sector framework might be 200 grand a year, and you're paying us a little bit of time just to fill out a tender. So return on investment proves it is worth it. Yeah, so if we solve that, or in fact, even if you are looking to do this yourself and you just want a bit more advice on it, that's absolutely fine. We are consultants, that's what we do, is we advise. We're happy to kind of look over stuff that you've done, talk to you about maybe if you're not ready to tender, just perhaps what your next steps might be over the next year or so, how you can get yourself in the right position. So we've got cards here, grab them, phone us, get connected on LinkedIn, whatever. We're happy to have. We won't charge you for it. You can come into the office and we'll have a chat about where you're at, how we can help. Okay, so we have an offer for you. So if you have already submitted a tender, or you've got not necessarily public sector, we'll also look at private. If you've submitted any proposals, or you've got any marketing proposals that you'll send, we'll do a free review of that. So we'll do a high-level review where you send us the information and we'll come back with it to you as a buyer, and we'll look at that and give you an honest opinion, and we are brutally honest.
There's no point being told something's good if it's not, though, right?
So we do this for a lot of clients who think that they've been submitting pretty good bids, and then we go back and actually it's not good at all. So we'll tell you on there, we will be honest, what your strengths are in your proposals, what your weaknesses are, what more information you need to collect, and give you an action plan to go away with and help you improve on that. So
if you're not at that stage yet, though, we're happy to do that review of anything. I don't know if you're writing up case studies or whatever, trying to get testimonials. Happy to kind of have a look at the stuff you've got.
Yeah, or like Joe said, if you are really not ready, if you want to just come in and have a chat with us about getting you ready to bid, so planning out what timeline. So it might be things like getting your finances, your case studies, checking your accreditations. We know what accreditations are needed, like your CHARS or your SSIP or your ISO. So we can kind of give you an action plan there to go away over the next maybe 12 months to get your tender ready. Okay?
Has anyone got any questions?